Hello everybody, welcome back to Vita Integrative Medicine and our Monday Night Mythbusters. I'm Dr. Carolyn George and joined here by Leslie Harrington, my awesome transformational health coach.
Hello everyone.
How is everybody doing tonight? We are going to be speaking tonight about meditation. And so we're going to start off with just a few questions to see about some of the myths that are out there and see kind of who's feeling it, who's doing it, and what's going on, so that we can make sure we're answering all the appropriate questions. So first, anybody that's there, if you want to just give a thumbs up if you already meditate. And if you do, if you want to just put in the comments if you feel like you do it well, or you feel like it's not working for you. You're trying it and you're just not getting what you expect. So just let us know. Hi Brian, hi Marianne.
Hey guys.
So just give us some feedback there and we'll start to kind of address some of those things. So some of the common myths are that that you don't have time, okay? Who feels like they just don't have time to meditate? They're too busy, there's too much going on. If they meditate, they're not going to be able to do something else. Who feels that they just will fall asleep if they meditate because they're just too tired? I see Brian was just saying that.
That's another one I hear. What's ironic about that is sometimes it can be very energizing, and for some people in the evening time, it's harder to meditate because it brings a lot of energy and more focus and mental clarity and things you maybe don't want right before you're going to sleep. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point, Brian. Thank you.
Right. Hi, Sadine.
Hi, Sadine.
Yes, and so there's some people there that are finding that what they've tried so far makes them fall asleep. What about if you just kind of can't meditate? What if you feel like you're not getting into that yogic, like, the world is peace kind of mood? Anybody out there have that feeling?
I hear a lot of people too sometimes say, I'm not doing it right, or
can't shut your mind off.
Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody that feels like they can't shut their head off, if they can give me a thumbs up out there so we can see just how that's, if we're having those kinds of sensations when we try to meditate. So we've got a few people that are noticing that.
Yeah, so when you're, hi Sally, when you're finding that whole, can't shut your mind off, the first thing I would say there is stop trying to shut your mind off, because the goal of meditation is not to shut your mind off. If anything, I think helping you understand that, acknowledging and kind of letting your mind be a little bit is part of the process. And asking your mind to stop going and putting your thoughts aside is like asking your heart to stop beating. Mm-hmm. So can you imagine sitting there and saying, okay, like, calm heart, stop. You physically can't do that, right? So if you kind of look at that and understand that it would be that technical, that your body just can't do that. So stop expecting that of yourself, and I think you can almost get like kind of relief that you don't necessarily have to have that to get the benefits and the effects, especially, you can't physically have that. So there's still much good positive benefits that come from it without having.
Exactly. So we can see that there's some challenges with trying to meditate. So let's first even talk about what is meditation, because there's a lot of different ways to get to that place. And meditation at its core is really just being in the moment. Whether you use chanting, whether you use a certain kind of breathing or a mantra, the goal of that is just for you to be in the moment, not in the future, not in the past, not thinking about other things, but just in your body where you are. And that is really important, because that really is the only actual real moment that we have, right? The future has not happened yet. The past has already happened. So reality is really in the here and now, and meditation helps to keep us here without all the thinking that goes on. So first and foremost, it's being in the moment. But there are many ways to do that. So for example, if you love to rock climb, that's actually a meditation, because you're very much in the moment, or you're falling off the cliff when that happens. So anything where you're really focused, whether it might be you're painting, if you love to paint, if you're writing, you're really kind of in tune with your body and your thinking. There's many different ways to get there.
I find that with Pilates.
So
when I'm in Pilates, I'm very into my breathing. I'm into my core. I'm feeling what my muscles are supposed to be doing. Like, it's one of the most presence that I am throughout my day, outside of specific meditation.
Right.
It's just, you can find a lot of the activities that you're doing. If you're doing these passion activities, you really can touch into that.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. So when you're doing a certain type of breathing to meditate, or certain chant, or certain mantra, the focus is really just on keeping your mind occupied with that thing so that it doesn't wander off. So one of the first things I always tell people that want to learn to meditate is think of your mind like a gym. When you go to the gym, you have some equipment that you're going to work on. You're going to go do an exercise and you're going to work out till you feel tired. Your mind is the same thing. So when you're meditating and you're using, for example, your breath to try to just kind of focus in on the present, you're doing that breathing and you're trying to just let the thoughts kind of come through and let them go. And you're trying to focus on that as much as possible, but of course your mind is going to wander. You're going to go to, what did you have for lunch? Or, what did so-and-so say to me? Or what do I have to do next? Your job, your exercise, is to realize that your mind has wandered and bring it back to the breath, or bring it back to the mantra or the chant, and then again just try to focus on that until it wanders off again. It might be 2 seconds later, it might be 30 seconds later. But that exercise is recognizing that your mind has wandered and bringing it back. The more you do it, the faster you recognize that your brain has wandered, and then you bring it back much easier. You're able to kind of put those thoughts. Some people say I like to put them in a file folder. Other people like to think of them as clouds that just kind of float away, or you just kind of blow them away. But none of this is forceful. If you have other thoughts and you recognize, oh, I'm thinking, then you're not going to squash it down and say, no, I can't think. I'm not supposed to do that, right? You just non-judgmentally go, okay, thinking. That's interesting, and just let it pass.
Yeah, and reeling it back in is one of the core things, is what you're training your body to do, is to kind of recenter itself. And that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is when you're in that calm place, like staying in that calm place. So when you see some of these apps and these devices that are measuring brain waves, or they're directing you, and there's different types of meditation. We'll get into that a little bit and some of the tips that you can, because some people do a guided. So like you're talking about clouds, and you're talking about different ways of acknowledging the thoughts that are passing. And sometimes guided meditation, people like that because they're being instructed.
Right.
And putting them in a hot air balloon and placing the thoughts in and watching them float away. And those types of visuals can be very powerful, especially for people who are a little distracted and need instruction, or they like to be taught. It takes a little bit of the mind out of
it. Right.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's another thing to experiment with, is different kinds of meditation to see which one really resonates with you. And usually 1 or 2 types will resonate with a person, so it's good to explore them all. So
yes, definitely try different ones.
You've got the guided meditations, you've got breathing meditations, chanting, and there's sound bowls that you can use, there's body scans that you can use. Yeah. So there's many, many different ways to approach the issue, as long as what you're trying to do is just kind of come back to center and kind of hone in on what's going on in your body. And then that way you can figure out, okay, where am I holding my tension? What am I upset about? There's a lot of insight that you can get when you slow yourself down a little bit from our fast-paced world and kind of go introspect a little bit and see just what's going on with you.
Yeah, and I think even just acknowledging, so if you're meditating in a room and the air conditioning comes on, like, it's okay to say, oh, you know what, acknowledge the noises, the sounds, the feelings, the things like that, that are just happening at the moment. One of the misconceptions is that you have to be in that perfect setting to be able to have an effective meditation type of experience. And there are, that type of thing where there are different types. There's going to be things that are going to be more, doable in today's society, short of going and being a monk and really practicing, as it's just not realistic, right?
Right.
But understanding that you don't have to be in that perfect setting. Sometimes there's breathing techniques that are going to give you that impact of meditation. So it might be a breathing technique that turns into your meditative moment, and you're still able to get that the response from your brain and your body that you're really looking for, and the ultimate goal of meditation is to shift your body into that parasympathetic rest mode when we're really on the opposite of fight or flight most of our time in our days. So it's getting that mindful shift is really the ultimate goal, right? And if it happens a few times throughout the day in short increments versus sitting for 30 minutes on a pillow with your legs crossed, chanting,
Right.
it's okay to get that benefit either way. It's really just making the effort to find ways of integrating it.
Yeah. And one of the key pieces is consistency. So some people talk, okay, well, I don't have an hour every day to devote to meditation. Well, I don't either. But if you do something consistently, then you build on that. Just like in anything, if you want to learn how to play an instrument, if you practice 10 minutes a day, that's going to be a lot better than an hour once a week, right? So that consistency in daily practice is really core. It's integral to learning about yourself and learning how you're going to kind of drop into that feeling and how you're going to benefit from it. So trying to find 5 or 10 minutes a day to try to do that. And that can be before you eat. That can be as you're waking up in the morning. That can be as you go to bed at night. Like Leslie said, there's no perfect time, and sometimes you split it up over the day. So these are all little tools that you can use to try to help make it more accessible.
Yeah, and Kristen just says she finished the Oprah and Deepak 21 Day. Super valuable resources out there. There's a lot more conversation being talked about with meditation. We heard the greatest quote this past weekend about how it used to be in vogue, and now it's more in Science magazine because there's so much more.
Right.
They're looking at it more scientifically and not just what used to be kind of hocus pocus. And it's much more of a real effective technique now in health in general, and it's acknowledged as being one of the most powerful techniques in alternative type of behaviors that helps with health overall.
Right. We were just at a conference this weekend, the Brain Awakening, and there is just the research is just exploding in terms of brain research and the benefits of meditation and meditative or restorative practices. So it's really helpful for everything from anxiety to cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, dementia. Pain is a huge place where they use it, fibromyalgia. There's just so many different avenues that it's helpful for that it's cheap. It's, you can do it. You don't need any equipment. I mean, if you had a pill that did as much as meditation does, it would be just soaring off the shelves.
Unbelievable,
right?
Yeah.
But the problem is it requires us to sit down and do something or not do something really. And so it's not as easy as just taking a pill, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, Julia says she uses the Calm app. So that's one of the apps we are going to talk about today. The apps are really critical. They're great to get you started. And now I imagine, Julia, if you're using that when you're in a place where you don't have time to grab your app, you're able to take some of those techniques that you learn from the Calm app and just do it on your own. And that's how I got started, was through the Muse device.
Okay.
And I got to where I was doing it, but then I didn't always have a place to put this headband on and sit there. So then I started to take some of the practices and the sounds and the things that I got from that and I was able to implement it in other settings.
Yep.
So I think that's one of the other myths really, is that people are like, it doesn't work. I don't do it correctly. And the whole thing with that is there's no right and wrong, and there's no right, yes and no. There's no, you're going to feel this exact experience after you complete a meditation session. It's really what happens throughout the rest of what your journey is, not so much that you're going to get a particular outcome within that session.
Correct.
And some people will.
Yeah, some people will, but the expectation is not the goal, right? So you really should drop expectations, just put the time in, kind of see what happens. It's a little experiment with your body, and drop the judgment. That judgment is really a huge obstacle in terms of meditation and life really in general, right? We just judge ourselves constantly, and so this is really an important place. Once you start to see how frequently you're judging yourself, then you can just go judging, and then you can start to go, oh, okay, yeah, negative self-talk. You start to be aware of that little inner voice that can sometimes not be very nice. In fact, most times, often not very nice. And once you're tuning into that, then you can go, okay, I'm not going to believe that. That's garbage, and you can decide to put that away because that little inner voice is not you.
Yeah, that's exactly distinguishing who's actually talking. If it's your inner voice, is it you talking or is it your thoughts?
Right.
And
Your
Sutina
thoughts are
asked
not you. Yeah.
about, I'm sorry, she's heard that meditation the only way to lengthen your telomeres. If there's any research to support the lengthening of your telomeres.
There is some early research to support that, but it's not definitive, and I would say it's probably not the only way to support that. But that telomere lengthening is definitely worsened by high stress, by getting that cortisol out there. That's very damaging. And so one of the key things that meditation can do is kind of bring you back into that rest, digest, and restore mode. And that can definitely it has great health benefits across the board.
Yeah, and having that high level of cortisol also increases your acidity, right? So that in general causes an inflammatory response in your body. So bringing you back in the meditation is going to actually calm your body back down and kind of get you back restored in terms of the pH levels and things like that.
Things like that. So another question for you. Anybody out there that has a meditative practice, do you have a little routine that you do, or do you just do it any place? Do you just kind of, when you've got a few minutes, you just do it? So let's see what people are doing out there. And while you're answering me, I'm going to tell you just kind of a goal. So first, number one, do it any place. If you've got 1 minute, in fact, there's a Facebook page called 1 Minute Meditations. And so I encourage you to go there, and they will send you just a 1 minute contemplation every day, and you can just spend 1 minute thinking about something or just relaxing into this idea that they have. So they send you a new idea every day. So I love that. But the goal ultimately is to kind of create a habit, right? Habits are what get us through a lot of difficult times. So when you're driving home at night, you're really exhausted, you had a 12-hour day, you get in your car and you don't have to think, I have to turn right here, I have to turn left here, make sure I brake. Your body, your brain just kind of takes you on autopilot home. So meditation and having that consistent practice, whether it's 1 minute, 1 hour, whatever it is, but that consistency is just like taking you home when you get stressed. So when you're in a stressful situation, your plane's late, you're stuck in traffic, your child is sick, whatever it might be, that your body just goes on autopilot and you will start breathing in the way, you'll start relaxing in the right way, because we're very much like Pavlov's dogs, right? So actually part of the routine is to have a bell or a gong, and you can use this sound and do either 3 rings of bells or 3 gongs, or 3 of something. 3 is kind of a magical number. And that automatically just clues you in. And if you can't do it, you're out. You can even just imagine the sound of that bell initiating your dropping into that meditative practice. And then you just will start to do that. Every time you hear a bell, it's like, okay. And just relax.
Yeah, you get that automated response.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of, so I see morning seems to be the best for certain people that have that, it's their me time. They're trying to kind of get it in there before the day starts to take over. And then also, Sadine was saying she does it throughout her day. So she tries to do it in the morning, but she's able to get it in at breaks and outside. Super effective. Like you're going to see that you still get the value, even if you're staggering it throughout the day. Sometimes I'm doing it in the car at a red light, using the breathing techniques.
Right.
So anytime you're doing, there's various breathing techniques that you can use.
Yes.
I mean,
and that
endless, right?
At the light is a really common one. I encourage people, a lot of my patients, to do that. Just whenever you're stopping at a red light, instead of picking up your phone and looking at your texts, just take a few slow, deep breaths and just chill. And then you won't be so stressed. Oh, this light's so long. I've got to get to where I'm going. It just kind of.
You wish you had more time. After.
Right? Okay, I think I'll stay here. So Muse is awesome, yes. And hi Lee, good to see you dropping in here. Yeah, so we've got a lot of different apps. So we use Muse, Calm, Headspace is another great app you can get on your phone. It's a fellow with a wonderful Australian accent.
Yeah, he's like South African or something. Is it Australian?
I think. Well, whichever it is, it's a beautiful.
Completely. La, la, la.
Yeah, I just go for his accent. But he's got 10-minute meditations that he has for free, and he's got longer ones. You can buy packages. He's also actually on the airplanes now. A lot of planes have on their radios.
I've seen that.
Because he's done so many for anxiety with flying. So that's another favorite. Holosync. another cool app, and they use the sound of rainfall and then some bells in the background to kind of just bring you down.
Omi, have you heard of Omi?
Yeah,
OMI?
Omi, yeah.
The Muse, guys, if you're curious, it's an actual device, and they call it like a Fitbit for the brain. And it's got EKG technology, but it's actually giving you kind of some biofeedback as you're meditating. You're listening for birds, and you're hearing different sounds. So if you're listening to a beach scene, you might hear some storms and some thunder when you're starting to get distracted. And when you reel yourself back in and draw back into your breath, that's when the birds come through.
Right.
And you can actually do little challenges for some of your family, and
Right,
you know,
right.
who can be the most focused.
Who can
and
get the
things
most
like that.
birds, right? If
Yeah,
you're competitive.
and it, you know, you could get that on Amazon.com or the Muse, MUSE. They talked about the Muse a lot at this brain conference this weekend.
Yeah, they
as
did mention
being
it.
a pretty significant.
HeartMath came out too as a big player. They're using that a lot.
Heart
And
rate
HeartMath
variability.
has just a little app that, a little cord that hooks to your ear to follow your heart rate variability. So it's another form of biofeedback. But we normally have a variable heart rate. It's never just the same. And it's healthy to be variable.
Yeah.
With inspiration and expiration, it should change its rate. If it's not, that's unhealthy. And so it can follow that and help you to get this coherence, they call it, so that you have a consistent variability. And there's a lot of research behind that. And that I really suggest for people who like to do things, because you can on your phone just watch, and there's something that moves and changes, and you try to breathe in coordination with that. Or they have on your computer little scenes, and the more you're breathing in coherence, the more it colors up different parts of the scene, and so you get a lot of positive feedback. And that's like $100 for the
earpiece.
earpiece,
And the
yeah.
app's free from there.
Yeah, and they've done lots of research with that on PTSD survivors and vets coming back from the wars.
They do a lot with that, with even physical exercise, and like when the best times for you to exercise are for your body, and how fatigued you might be, or
At different times.
yeah, when your body is the most receptive to muscle building or the right oxygen changes. It's a really fascinating piece of technology.
Yeah, it's very cool. Not difficult. None of these things are difficult to do. The key thing is making them a priority and understanding the benefits. And we were just talking about, should we go into all the research that is out there that shows the benefits? I mean, we could spend literally hours, probably weeks, going over all of that research that's out there. But there's a lot, and they're doing all different kinds of brain scans. They can see people who meditate frequently have more what we call neuroplasticity. They have the ability to heal. So if they do have a stroke or an injury, brain trauma, they recover faster. I mean, this is just amazing stuff. You know, 30 years ago, everybody was kind of woo-woo, meditation's kind of for freaky people. But Jon Kabat-Zinn started doing meditation studies with the Buddhist monks up in Boston. And so he started really getting a lot of great research and showing how beneficial it was. And now it's all over the place. There's hundreds of articles.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see it's going to be meditation studios popping up on different corners, and it's going to be kind of like, I guess you would say, what is it, the WODs and the box workouts, what do they call them? The fit, the gym workouts, the CrossFit.
Oh, the CrossFit.
It's going to be like the CrossFit of,
On every
you know,
corner.
the next few years is going to be like, you're going to see a lot with meditation and breathing, and
I think so.
it's not just going to be a popularity thing, but I think it's going to be critical for where our society's changing when it comes to health. And like Dr. George said, if you could take a pill, like this would be it. This is, I mean, this is,
It would be a blockbuster.
I mean, almost every disease state has some sort of influence of stress, and this is like the best way to manage stress.
Autism, ADHD, Parkinson's, MS. I mean, I can just go through every disease I can think of would have some benefits. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, diabetes. I mean, all of these diseases can benefit from finding
Absolutely.
this ability to kind of calm yourself, heal, restore, go inward, see what you need, and then move on with your day. And research has also proven this, that it does not waste your time. Okay?
Julie, the meditation
The
box.
meditation box, there you go. So when you meditate, when you take a little time to recharge, you're actually much more efficient in the work that you do after. So you may have taken an hour to do what you can do in a half an hour. if you meditate. So
The focus.
the focus
Absolutely.
is there, absolutely. It just recharges you, you're ready, you're energized, and you are very much more efficient and energetic.
And to go along with that, and Julia, you could probably back me on some of the stuff that you've heard on this, is leaders. Like anybody with those morning routines, your top, financial people in the world, the people who, the Steve Jobs of the world.
Yes.
They have a meditation practice.
All of them.
All of them have meditation practice. They all have that morning routine that sets the stage for their day. And part of the reason they're so effective and they're so, they don't, everybody can do multitasking, even though it's a farce. This is something that allows them to be more productive and efficient with their time and to stay focused.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one other thing, for those of you who do fall asleep when you meditate,
CEO and meditation.
that is okay. That just means you needed sleep. So get your sleep, don't feel bad, no judgment, but then try to do meditation at a different time of day when you're maybe not so tired, and make a mental note, I do need to get a little bit more sleep. Okay.
Absolutely. And if you're falling asleep during it, it's not tragedy.
No.
That can be your meditative moment. If you're going into that wave and those brain waves, there's still going to be some benefit from that,
Right.
to you, and you might wake up refreshed.
Right, you
if
just
you're,
need that sleep. And one of the other tricks that you can do if you find that that's happening and you play with different times of day and you're already getting more sleep, you're not one of these people trying to work on 5 or 6 hours of sleep, but do it sitting up. Do it in a straight back chair. So in a position where it's not so easy to fall asleep, don't do it laying down. So you ideally, you want to be maybe sitting cross-legged on the floor. That being on the floor tends to keep you awake, or maybe you want to just be in a straight back chair and sit back cross-legged on the chair or with your feet on the floor. Just experiment with ways that help you to stay awake but not be in pain. You don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really helpful too is to distinguish where. So if you have a place in your house, you maybe don't want to do it sitting in bed. You might want to go and sit in a patio chair outside. You might want to sit in a different part or area of your couch. It's similar to, you don't want to be watching TV in bed. You want bed to be associated with sleep.
Correct.
You might feel more confident and get into better meditative state if that space is dedicated. And I'm not saying like a special room or special, I'm talking about shifting from one side of the couch to the other. Like it can be that simple. But really, again, triggering your mind, just like the bell would, oh, we're going to meditate. This is where we're going, and kind of training your brain to associate that area.
Yep.
So that's a pretty good point there.
All about habits. You want to break some habits, the habits that make you fall asleep, but then create new habits so that you can just go into that, like that Pavlov's dog, and just respond, and then you'll find your resilience for all kinds of stressful situations is much better because you've got something to draw on.
Yeah, and something to think about, guys, before we wrap up. When you're doing these practices, you're training yourself to recenter, to recenter, to recenter. So when you're in a real life situation of stress and you're at the office and something kind of goes crazy, your nervous system is going to start to autocorrect. It's going to start to take you in that place where it keeps your body and your mind calm. And that's the purpose of meditation, is for it to start to really apply in other areas of your life. So the more you're practicing, the more it's kind of kicking in. So be mindful of that. You might not feel like it's doing anything, but the next time you have a very stressful situation, you might find yourself a little calmer. You might find that you're breathing a little different. You might find your heart's not racing as much. So you're managing that cortisol response in those settings.
So as we kind of go into a close, if you guys can give me some thumbs up for the people who are going to give meditation another try, or will continue to do it. And I'm going to give you just a couple of ideas for easy ways for those who don't already do it to kind of just start to ease into it. So number one is just when you're at the red light, just taking 3 slow, deep breaths, or doing that same thing before you eat. Just kind of sit down and fill your lungs all the way to the bottom, and then exhale. And if you can, what you do is you breathe in for about a count of 5, you hold it for 5, and then you exhale for 5, and hold that for 5, and then breathe in again for 5. That's what we call a box breath. So that's just a simple little breath pattern that you can do that's easy to do any place, 5, 5, 5. If you want to expand it, you can actually do 5, 6, 7, where you breathe in for 5, hold for 6, and exhale for 7. And that calms you down even more. So those are 2 nice little variations that you can do any place for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever works.
Yeah, and there's oodles of those types of, there's
Yeah,
two
it's
times
all over.
breathing, there's box breathing. Those are things you absolutely can find. If you went and looked up, different types of breathing techniques for quick meditation, you'd find quite a few.
Lots, yeah. And there's all kinds of different kinds of breathing techniques, different what we call pranayama. And the pranayama is a way to kind of get the body ready and to kind of focus inward. So I'm working actually on a course called the Brain Yoga, Bend Your Brain into Brilliance. So once that's ready, I'll let you guys know, but I'm doing some different breathing techniques, different chanting techniques, and different ways to kind of help the meditative process. So we'll let you know, be on standby, okay?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you. And we will look forward to our next Monday Mythbusters. And
again, really, any ideas that you guys have, we love to, you guys are who we're doing this for. We have a lot of fun with it, but we want to be able to really serve and see what people are really, looking to learn more about. So,
right. So we're thinking next Monday we're going to do what to look for in a functional medicine provider. So you can kind of pick and choose and learn about things that you'll want to ask or things that you're going to be wanting to be aware of when you're searching for a functional medicine provider. If you have other ideas, please send them to us. We're always open, okay?
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye.